Hi, I'm Steve Thompson, president of Emery Thompson Machine, and today we're going to talk about what happens to your ice cream and gelato after it's been made. Let's, Ken, our IT man out in Houston, Texas, let's cut to a shot of the gelato that I made last week coming out of the machine. And here we go. I can even speed it up. Look at that. See, without the bars in the way, it's funny how you can do marketing that you take your worst problem and make it into your biggest benefit. Without the bars in the way, we're able to get the product out very quickly. There we have. Absolutely. Okay, so you saw what that looked like coming out, and that was actually at about somewhere around 18 degrees Fahrenheit. We took the ice cream, and we could have put it into a cabinet and started serving it, but for reasons that we'll go into, we wanted to harden it. So that's one of the 3 ice creams that we made right there. And that's ready for us to put into a cabinet. So where does it go from here? Or what did we do here first, actually? What we did is this is just a plain old Sears chest freezer. Home Depot sells them under their name, plenty of places. They usually cost about $550. Not bad at all. They're designed to go to 0 degrees. If you push the fast freeze, it might even get to 10 below. It was designed for you to go out and buy at the supermarket frozen green beans and frozen pizza. Already frozen, you bring it home, you put it into this freezer, and it maintains it frozen. It was never designed to take 18-degree ice cream down to 0 or 5 below or maybe even 10 below in rare cases. However, in the short run, that's what I'm doing. And I have recommended that to my customers. I've said if you're starting out in the business with the CB350, and of course money is tight, no matter how big you are, money is tight. This was a way to make small batches of ice cream and to harden it to the point where it's solid. You can see that. So it works fine if I'm going to make 3 or 4 of these tubs today and let the freezer harden them down. And then tomorrow I can come back and make 3 or 4 more tubs because what's in here, like the frozen pizza and the frozen green beans, is already frozen. It's not taxing the cabinet whatsoever. The cabinet only has to try to take the heat out of the new ice cream that I put in. What I'm going to show you today is if we load up the cabinet with a lot of batches of ice cream, we're going to run into a problem with this cabinet. A couple of things about this product that we made, the gelato. One of the problems with this cabinet, which I've mentioned before, and gelato primarily, is gelato is low in fat. Now that attracts a lot of people, and they say, oh, I'm eating gelato, it's going to be so much better for me. But it may be low in fat, but it's high in sugar, very high in sugar. If this was Haagen-Dazs style ice cream that the Emery Thompson makes, and by the way, we put Haagen-Dazs and Ben & Jerry into business with our machines, this would be so rock hard you couldn't do anything with it. Because of the high sugar content in it, watch this, just right in like that, no problem at all, putting my scoop into it. Because even though it's down at about 10 below, it's still pretty soft. Because, and I can even scoop it. It's soft because of the high sugar content. So folks, if you think you're eating a dietetic product by switching to gelato, you're not. These are all frozen desserts. They're meant as treats. We treat ourselves. So we either do it with American ice cream, which is going to be a higher fat and low sugar, or it's going to be a gelato, which is very low fat and very high in sugar. Now, when we made this and you saw it come out of the machine, we could have taken it right from here to our dipping cabinet. Ken, let's show them a picture of an Italian dipping cabinet. Now, those cabinets are very expensive. They're very temperamental, but they have a beautiful display. The Americans are making some gelato cabinets nowadays. C. Nelson Company makes a very nice one, Nelson Manufacturing, and Masterbuilt has one too. They are suitable for using as gelato. When we make gelato, often we take it right out of the machine, put it into the pan, and put it into the freezer, and we scoop it into cups. It won't hold up on a cone necessarily at that temperature, but we do put it into cups. Now, here's a little bit of the problem with gelato that we face in America, unlike Europe. You make 8 or 10 flavors of gelato today. You put them right into your case. You did not harden them or flash freeze them or shock freeze them. So there are still ice crystals or still water in the ice cream. The hardening phase, or taking it down colder, removes the final most of the water that's still in ice cream. That's the nature of it. If hardening wasn't necessary, you wouldn't have Haagen-Dazs spending $50 million on a 70 below zero hardening tunnel for all their pints to go through. So if we take it and put it right in the cabinet, it's going to have a shelf life of about 2 or 3 days. Now that works fine in Italy because they consume more frozen desserts than we do in the United States. The American diet, I like to joke, is it's a Diet Pepsi and a bag of chips at 11 in the morning, another Diet Coke and a bag of chips in the late afternoon, and then maybe some ice cream for dinner. Over in Italy, it's gelato in the morning, a little more in the afternoon, and certainly some at night. They consume a lot more frozen desserts than we do. So if you go to visit your old-fashioned ice cream parlor or gelateria in the United States, you might be going once or twice a week. You might also have some Haagen-Dazs in your freezer that you pick from. You take a spoonful out at 11 o'clock at night before you go to bed. At least that's what I do. So we don't consume the amounts that they do over in Italy. So this product will last about 3 or 4 days in a gelato case. I'd say closer to 3 because it hasn't been hardened. Now, I run a manufacturing firm, and I'm buying truckloads of steel. If every 3 days I had to throw out the remaining steel because it had gone bad and I hadn't used it, I'd be out of business in no time. Because the American way of doing ice cream is not to make it every single day, but to make an inventory, make 5, 6, 8 of these pans and put them into your hardening cabinet, and that becomes your inventory for the rest of the week. The colder you get the product, the longer it can last. I may have told this story before, but a lady called up and said she had some bubblegum licorice ice cream that was 10 months old, but it was at 40 below zero in her hardening cabinet. And she said, "Is it any good?" I said, "Yes, ma'am, it's as good as the day you made it because it's at 40 below zero. But the fact that it's been in there for 10 months tells you it's a lousy flavor. Get rid of it. Throw it out." So you balance how often you're going to go through the product and how well it's liked with how much you manufacture. Now, we want to talk about the hardening of this product. Malcolm Stogo's book, Incredible Ice Cream, which we actually sell here, I use it when I teach because it has over 300 recipes for gelato and ice cream and Italian ices. He also talks about equipment. So let's see what he says about hardening in here. Hardening, the process during which ice cream freezes to at least minus 25 degrees Fahrenheit after the product has been removed from the batch freezer. This fast freezing process usually takes 8 to 12 hours in a blast freezer. Now, you've seen me on these videos take 2, 3, 4 of these tubs, put them in here, and in about 24 hours they'll get as hard as they're going to get. They're never going to get rock hard because it can't go cold enough. But I'm getting by with this cabinet. When you're setting up a business, I was asked yesterday by a customer, what's the number one mistake that people make getting into the frozen dessert business? Without question, the number one mistake is not planning 5 years out. You do not plan a business saying, well, I might only last in this 2 or 3 months. If you're only going to last 2 or 3 months in any business, whether it's auto repair or trucking or selling computers or anything, if you're thinking 3 months out, you shouldn't be in business. You're not thinking far enough. You ought to be thinking 5 years out. So this might be okay, this cabinet, to get you started, but you've got to plan for what happens when you need 10 of this flavor. You're not going to be able to do it in these cabinets. They're not designed to do it. So I'm going to prove my point today. Let me just put this back for the moment. And let me get out my little radar gun here and take a reading. And I am at -7 degrees Fahrenheit. So if I put some ice cream in here today, it'll warm up probably 10 or 15 degrees and then eventually harden it down. It's not great for the ice cream, but in the short run, it'll get the job done. What I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to put a load on this cabinet. I'm going to treat it as if we were making, say, 25, 30 gallons of ice cream. Because you don't just make a batch this morning and another batch at noon and another batch this afternoon. That's wasteful. You'd have to re-clean the machine. You'd have to re-sanitize. It's better to tell your employees, hey, I'm going to make ice cream and gelato for the next 4 hours. Don't bother me. And then you keep making batch after batch, starting with the light flavors and working down so that you don't even have to rinse out the Emery Thompson. You are just going to start with vanilla, strawberry, Bordeaux cherry, black raspberry, and then you rinse out the machine. In between the two is what we call overlap. And there's so little strawberry left in there that it'll blend with the next darker flavor and you won't even notice it. So let me start putting a load on this. And I'm going to take these ice creams out of here because I don't want to ruin them, because I know what the outcome is going to be here. And so what I've done is I've chilled down buckets of water to simulate a load. It's not exact. It's not as great as if I was loading it up with ice cream. But I'm going to put these buckets of water in here to simulate about 20 or 25 gallons of ice cream. And you think that sounds like a lot. It's not. Not when you're running, say, 15 flavors. That's very little ice cream. So I haven't changed the thermostat. I haven't changed anything. We're just going to put a load on this cabinet. And we're going to see what the temperature goes to in about 2 or 3 hours. So we'll come back. Okay, it's been about 3 hours now, and I'm back, and I wanted to give you a progress report on Sammy. She's about 21 pounds now, and Paula, was she coming up on 12 weeks old? 12 weeks old, so you can see she's getting bigger, and she's being very nice now. She seems very calm and placid. Actually, she's running around the factory here like crazy and chewing on everything. We had to put a border up around my large safe because we were afraid she was going to crawl under it again, and the safe weighs about 4 tons, so it'd be kind of hard to move if she got stuck under there. But Sammy's coming along, and we'll get her off camera here. 3 hours later, let's take a look and see how our cabinet's doing. Now, this is supposed to harden ice cream, but we put a load on the cabinet. Wow, 24 degrees. Still below freezing, but ice cream is liquid at 24 degrees. So that's killing the ice cream. 24, and it'll probably take all night to bring it down to 0 or 7 below, or maybe even till this time tomorrow. So that ice cream is going to soften up. It's going to get ice crystals in it. You're giving an inferior product to your customers. So again, we were not giving you wrong advice when we said you could use one of these to start out, making small batches. But so many of my customers who start with the CB350 making 6 quarts at a time, I'm getting phone calls all the time. I'm running the machine 16 hours a day, 18 hours a day. We're making a lot of money, but I haven't seen my house in months or my bed. So it's time for me to move up. And what I tell them, rather than sell them a bigger batch freezer at this point in time, I say, you need more hardening space. You need a real blast freezer. By the way, they're called blast freezers, flash freezer, or hardening cabinet. All 3 terms mean the same thing. Kelvinator makes a single door and a double door, and so does a company called Global, and they're excellent cabinets too. So you've got Masterbuilt or Global making the American hardening cabinets. And you can go to turnkeyparlor.com and get a very good price on that, but it is something you're going to need. One last thing when you're planning the store, if you have an open shell of a store with nothing in it yet, to run an electric line for my batch freezer or a second one or the hardening cabinet, it's going to cost you maybe $85 to put the line in when the store is wide open. After the sheetrock's up and everything's in place, it's going to take all day and probably be $300 or $400. So it's wise money spent to, again, 5-year plan your business and say, where am I going to be in 5 years? What am I going to need? Probably going to need a hardening cabinet here and maybe another Emery Thompson. Let's run the electric lines for it now and then not use them. And then when we do need them, we just plug them in and we're good to go. But a hardening cabinet is a critical part of your business. You're eventually going to need it, so please don't plan the business for 3 months. Plan it for 3 years, 5 years, and beyond that. I hope this helps, and look forward to seeing you again real soon.